everybody, we are the Babes of Bourbon. I'm Megan Rutter.
And I am Eric Rutter.
And today we are here to sample New Riff.
So, are you excited?
I am excited. I really like this bourbon.
Yes, this is your second whiskey bourbon that got you into that you started enjoying?
Yeah, I would agree. The first was Woodford Reserve, and this one, I think we went to a Total Wine tasting class. I think. I know we went there. And they gave us this, and it was the only one out of the lineup that I really enjoyed. And that's not to say anything about their tasting. I would love to go and actually redo it. I think it was because I didn't drink bourbon at the time.
Yes.
But we bought a bottle, and we've been enjoying it ever since.
Woo! So just a quick overview. We have two different samplings here today. One is New Riff Kentucky Straight Bourbon. It's bottled in bond, which preview. We are going to have another video coming up soon about exactly what bottle and bond means and who introduced that. And then this one is also without chill filtration. So what does chill filtration mean? Filtration? Not flirtation.
It's like a tongue twister with all those L's.
So chill filtration is when bourbon gets under a certain temperature, it will have a cloudy appearance because of the fatty acids. They start getting cloudy. So one thing that bourbon companies do to avoid that is doing a chill filtration. Ooh, tongue twisters. Now, some bourbon enthusiasts do say that reduces the flavor because those fatty acids bring some flavors. I would say just test it out, see if you think it makes a difference. I wouldn't buy a bottle because it has been chilled filtration, but I would also buy a bottle with it to see the difference.
Because I'm looking at this and I'm not really seeing anything that's cloudy. Like the stuff that chill filtration is supposed to remove. This has a really nice appearance, so I know it tastes good.
It is very interesting. As you get higher alcohol percentages, you aren't going to get that cloudy appearance because the fatty acids can't get down to a low enough temperature for that to happen.
That makes sense.
This is a 65% corn, 30% rye, and 5% malted barley. So it is a little bit higher rye than some of the other bourbons we have been drinking.
And they do have an actual rye whiskey that New Riff produces as well.
Yes.
But even in the bourbons, because it is 30%, you're going to taste quite a bit of it. I personally think it's delicious. New Riff Distillery is obviously who produces the New Riff. They are newer. They started in 2014. Their first bottles they produced came out in 2018. So as of now, it's a 4-year aged bourbon. And personally, New Riff is my favorite young bourbon. I think they have a really good shot of making some delicious things through the years. So I'm excited to see what happens with them.
And they're doing it right. They're aging a product for 4 years instead of just releasing something that isn't correct. A lot of new distilleries also source their new whiskey, which is buying the distilled whiskey from another company and then aging it and blending it and selling that as their product. These guys are aging their bourbon for 4 years and selling us their product.
So they're not doing that. They're not getting it from other places.
They are not getting it from other places.
Gotcha.
This is their product.
Their own stuff.
Yes.
And it really is delicious to drink. The only place I've really seen it sold is Total Wine.
Wisconsin, it's pretty much Total Wine. Other states, you can probably get it elsewhere, but Wisconsin, I think, is only Total Wine.
Yeah, and it's readily available there.
Yes.
Everything I've seen. What we did, so this, we're finishing the bottle in our tasting. Just the New Riff Kentucky Bourbon Whiskey. This one I've seen all the time. Now this one is the New Riff single barrel store pick. This one though we got in Kentucky.
Yes, this is a Liquor Barn store pick. It was called Quarantine Number 6. That is disappointing that we are now on not number 2, 3, or 4, or even 5, but number 6. I know this one was aged 4 years. It's just slightly higher proof at 104.2. And it is a single barrel, which means it came directly from one barrel.
Very nice. Shall we get into the tasting?
Yes.
So I'm really curious. I opened this bad boy up when we were in Kentucky, but I haven't tried it since being home, and I'm excited to see the difference in taste between what I normally drink and the single barrel store pick. So we are starting with just the regular New Riff.
Small batch New Riff. Cheers.
Cheers.
I don't know if it's a small batch.
I don't think this one is a small batch.
Just Kentucky Straight and bottled in bond.
Yes. So the nose, I can definitely smell that there's more rye in this one.
Oh, I just skipped it. I just went for the
bottoms
sip.
up.
Hard day at work. No.
Really though. All right, giving that second sip. It's good.
It is. I really taste the rye
I do.
in this one.
Honestly, that's really what I taste. Like
Yeah.
it's just because it's so rye forward where a lot of other bourbons are not. And a lot of other bourbons, I taste more like vanilla caramel notes. This one, it just really has that like grain heavy taste. And I do have trouble distinguishing between like grains and anything else in it. Like I know there's stuff in here that I think is delicious and unique, but I don't know what those flavors actually are.
Which is more than okay because we're the babes.
The
babes of bourbon.
Newborn babes of bourbon.
Yes.
Now, because this is a young bourbon, aged only 4 years, it does burn more. It just does.
It brings a little more heat.
That's a
Especially
better
in
way
the
of
back.
saying it. It brings heat to the back of the throat, and it does, where the heat spreads across the tongue. That is what the fancy people say,
Yes.
isn't it? I gotta start picking up the lingo a little bit more. There is more heat to it, but I think it packs a really good flavor punch.
Yes, I think you get the rye and a little caramel does come through, but with it being younger, it's not quite as complex as some of the other stuff. I'm just really interested to see where New Riff goes.
Me too.
Because this is a quality bourbon that I'm just interested in seeing what they do throughout the years.
Me too.
So what are the notes we should be tasting?
Let's see. Well, first it says the MSRP for this bottle is $38.99. That's usually what I see at Total Wine. Between that and like $42 is the usual. So it says for the appearance, extra rich, unfiltered, deep amber color. And yeah, I really like the color of this bourbon. I think it's very pretty. The nose, it says butterscotch, rounding into fresh oak with hints of vanilla and rye spice. Now I gotta smell and see if I can smell butterscotch. Now that they tell me to smell it, I feel like it's there.
I probably taste the butterscotch more than smelling it.
I almost feel like I need to line up something like a cream that's vanilla flavored and then a caramel and a butterscotch, like the really good like homemade stuff, and smell and taste. Don't get ideas. I think I just shot myself in the foot. But like I want to smell the differences between them, and also with maple, like the four of those things, especially in bourbon, I just kind of associate them all together. So anyways, going on to what the taste is for the New Riff. It's broad, fulsome mouthfeel. I hate when they talk about the mouthfeel. Like it just gets me gross. Yeah, anyways. Leading to a sweeter vanilla accent before gathering before a gathering of rye spices, which are clove, cinnamon, mint, dark berry into the finish. And the finish is long rye lead finish with brambly red black fruits and white pepper and clove. So that's really interesting. I like that they talk about the rye spices, because I didn't, like, maybe that's what I was talking about, where it's like it's rye and there's other stuff in there, but I'm not sure how to identify it. I think that's why. Also, I'm reading from bourbonbanter.com for this information. Yeah.
And with this being non-chilled filtered, that because it hasn't gone through that chilled filtration process, that's where the mouthfeel does come. You get a few more of those fatty acids and oils into your bourbon, so it is going to feel a little more chewy, you might say, then.
We discussed that. Oops, there's a bug on his collar. We just I was like, oh, well, that's crawling there. Now that we've removed that, in the last video we talked about how Woodford Reserve is described as chewy, and I was like, what the hell does that mean? But now that you've kind of described the fatty acids within bourbon, it makes sense that something is there coating your mouth. The mouth feel, as they say. Now don't finish that, because we finished the bottle and you may want to compare.
Might want to, yes.
I'm not sure. No, I'm just kidding. I may sacrifice one sip if you don't have enough.
I have enough in there.
All right.
Yes.
So let's take a sip of this bad boy. We're moving on to our single barrel.
And this one is barrel proof, which is interesting because it's only 104 proof, but it is coming in at 104 proof and it's barrel proof. That means they did not add any water after the 4-year maturation period in the oak barrels.
And also, if this is your first time tuning in when you're smelling bourbon, just as a reminder, don't stick your nose in it like you do with wine. You want like small sniffs, rest on your upper lip, keep an open mouth as you're inhaling.
I went in for a sip again already.
I feel like the notes on this one, I feel as though there's less of a rye note and more of a butterscotch note. Now that being said, it's still pretty rye heavy on the note.
For sure.
Oh, that's good. I really like this one. Shockingly, being barrel proof, there's less heat.
Yes.
That's so bizarre to me that there's less heat from barrel proof than there was from this bad boy, which was bottled in the spring of 2020.
Yes.
There's a little tag on the back of the bottle I just saw. This barrel proof is definitely worth the extra $10.
It was, about $5 to $10 more. I forget exactly what this cost us.
Because I remember questioning it. I was like, I don't know if it's worth the extra $12.
Yeah, Megan was in the store saying, well, they have new Riff back home. Are we sure we need it? I was like, it says quarantine number 6. We need it.
We need that one. Yeah. That one's so good. We did this last time with the Woodford Reserve too. Like, I am finding I'm actually consistently impressed now with the store picks.
Yes.
Which I'm pretty frugal, especially because Eric likes to buy bourbon. So if I'm in the bourbon aisle and I'm like, well, I could get the regular, which I already know we like, or the store pick, which is $10 to $15 more, I'll usually just go with the regular, but I am thinking I may need to change my ways.
Yes, so here's my views on it. I love experimenting with a lot of different bourbon brands. I think that is a great way to get introduced to bourbon, testing everything out, seeing the different nuances between all the different distilleries.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you find something you enjoy very much, going into the single barrels and store picks is where you're going to find some of your best value, because you're going to get different things that you already know that you enjoy,
That's a really
but
good
just
point.
better.
Like, I wouldn't necessarily pick a store pick for a bourbon I've never had before.
Correct.
Because I wouldn't really know what I was appreciating. Like, I wouldn't have anything to compare it to.
Mm-hmm. And then on an added bonus, if you know your local liquor store owner who manages your whiskey department, you're able to ask them some questions and really make sure that those barrel picks are going to be worth it.
Mm-hmm. Ask them what notes, if they found a lot of differentiation between what they're picking and the regular. People love to talk about it.
Yes.
Like, I love to talk about it, so especially like if they're the ones picking, they're usually pretty excited about what is coming in and what's in their barrels, so it's fun. Now, I think we briefly went over the single barrel store pick in our last video.
We did.
But just to revisit it briefly, if people are still wondering. So for this one, being a single barrel store pick, it does mean what it says. It is a single barrel. It's not like this one, where this one, let's say, we're just going to use a random number. Maybe there were 500 barrels in the spring of 2020. Mix them all together and bottle, produce, there you go. This one on the left comes from one barrel of whiskey, just one, not mixed with anything else. And the store in Kentucky actually picked out the one they wanted, put the label Quarantine 6 on it for what they wanted, and put it on their shelves, which honestly, the personalization of that it's just so fun. Yeah. It's just cool. We'll never have another bottle of whiskey or bourbon that tastes exactly like this again. So it's like pretty special. Thumbprint. Yeah, it's the store's thumbprint. Yeah. I almost said thumbprint. I don't know. Maybe we're just tired. We work on the phones a lot, and so it's right after work, and I had about 7 hours of meetings today, so I feel like I'm just stumbling over my words. Yes. But that's all right. It's what, gives us the money to buy the bourbon. For sure. Yeah. So this has been really fun. Yes. Next video, you said you wanted to do...
We will be...
Oh, yes, we will.
Opening a bottle of Colonel E.H. Taylor small batch.
So good if you've never had it.
And going over what bottled in bond means and sort of the history of how that came to be. Yeah,
and I know we briefly told you guys too, we went to Buffalo Distillery and we were treated very well. One of the really cool things was that we got the E.H. Taylor private tour because they heard we were on our honeymoon, and they were just very kind. So we'll tell a little bit about that and the story and what we got to experience. And then we'll post some photos on our Instagram so you can see the behind the scenes tour. Yeah, it was so cool, guys. You're gonna see a lot of masked pictures like this. Yes. But yeah, we so appreciate you guys. We really hope you enjoyed tonight's video. As always, go ahead and like and subscribe if you've enjoyed. We're having so much fun making these, so thanks for following along with our journey. And thank you to everybody who has already subscribed. Yeah. Have a great night, everybody. Bye. Bye.